Hello from Inside Drug Discovery. This video describes a drug recently approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The drug is VIZZ. This video focuses more on the medicinal chemistry properties of the drug rather than outcomes in patients. VIZZ was approved on July 31st, 2025. VIZZ is approved for the treatment of presbyopia in adults. The active pharmaceutical ingredient in VIZZ is aceclidine. The drug is administered directly to the eye as eye drops, once daily, 2 drops in each eye. The drug sponsor is Lens Therapeutics. The prescribing information insert of VIZZ is cited through the link at the bottom of this slide and served as the main reference for this video. Let's begin with the indication for VIZZ. VIZZ treats presbyopia. Presbyopia is blurry near vision observed in older adults. The condition often begins in one's 40s and worsens into the 60s. Presbyopia is caused by hardening of the lens of the eye, which affects proper focus on nearby objects. How does VIZZ treat presbyopia? The molecular target of VIZZ, or the API in VIZZ, aceclidine, is cholinergic muscarinic receptors. Aceclidine is a cholinergic muscarinic agonist. We'll come back to this term, cholinergic, in a moment. Through this mechanism, aceclidine causes contraction of the iris sphincter muscle with an overall effect of improving focus on close objects. The term cholinergic refers to acetylcholine, which is the endogenous ligand for these receptors. The structure of acetylcholine is shown in the middle of the slide. Aceclidine is strikingly similar to acetylcholine. Acetylcholine has an acetoxy group separated from a nitrogen by 1, 2 carbons. Aceclidine also has an acetoxy group separated from a nitrogen by 1, 2 carbons. The nitrogen in acetylcholine has a positive charge. Aceclidine is protonated under physiological conditions and therefore also has a positive charge. Both of these compounds act on cholinergic muscarinic receptors, which is a family of receptors. I believe that M3 is the most prevalent form found in the iris. On this slide are potency values for both compounds on the M3 receptor. The potencies are similar. I admit that you cannot directly compare Ki and EC50 values, but at least these do fall within a similar range. Single-digit micromolar is not a high potency, but keep in mind that aceclidine is administered directly to the eye. The drug does not need to achieve a high systemic concentration, just a reasonable concentration in one's eye. Here are the physicochemical properties of aceclidine. Aceclidine is a small molecule drug. I'm accustomed to thinking about small molecule drugs as being orally administered, and oral drugs are often discussed according to a handful of properties that are linked to oral absorption. But of course, aceclidine is essentially a topical drug for the eye. Regardless, here are some of the standard property values for aceclidine. One more detail about the structure of aceclidine. Aceclidine does contain a stereocenter at the carbon bearing the acetoxy group. Stereochemistry is not addressed in the prescribing information, and I believe that VIZZ contains a racemic mixture of the 2 possible enantiomers. Like acetylcholine, aceclidine is rapidly broken down in the body via hydrolytic reactions. In aceclidine, the acetyl group is cleaved to form 3-quinculadinol, or 3Q, which is an inactive metabolite. Aceclidine apparently persists in the eye long enough to generate a therapeutic effect in the eye. Because the half-life of aceclidine is so short, traditional PK parameters like clearance and volume of distribution are not reported for aceclidine. I will note that low concentrations of 3-quinculadinol can be detected in the plasma after 8 days of dosing VIZZ to the eye. With regard to safety, VIZZ carries warnings for blurred vision, increased risk of detached retina, and inflammation of the iris. Listed adverse reactions include irritation at the site of administration, dim vision, and headache. All reactions were observed in at least 10% of treated patients. That concludes this summary of the approval of the new drug application of VIZZ, which was granted by the U.S. FDA on July 31st of 2025. VIZZ contains aceclidine and is approved for the treatment of presbyopia in adults. Thank you for watching to the end. All comments and questions are welcome. Please leave them underneath the video. Take care.